Conner Prairie is a unique place, nestled in the heart of Hamilton County, Indiana, that offers an immense amount of connection to history, nature, agriculture, and more. Conner Prairie provides the opportunity for our guests to step into the story, walk the pathways into history, and have conversations with the folks who tell the tales. One of the biggest parts of this experience are the historic structures that are preserved within the 1816 Lenape Indian Camp, 1836 Prairie Town, and 1863 Civil War journey. It is with the kindness of those who strive to keep history present that they've donated these historic homes to our museum. Eli Lilly, our founder, knew this land could teach us about where we came from and help us shape where we are headed. His discovery of William Conner's home sparked an entire generation of storytelling by seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, and tasting the past. We hope you'll enjoy our tour through these incredible historic structures we have the sincere pleasure of stewarding, preserving, and using as connectors to the past and education for our future. The traditional homes of the Lenape were wigwams or bark houses. Wigwams were more semi-permanent homes made of bark and river reeds. They could be found along both the east and west coasts of North America. The interior layer of woven reeds or grasses provided insulation during colder months. The wigwams that the Lenape would have built would have been nearly triple the size of the one we have at Conner Prairie, designed for multiple family habitation. One-room log cabins were very typical homes on the frontier during the first third of the 19th century. One family would have lived in a one-room cabin with a hearth. There may or may not have been a loft or very shallow second floor for sleeping. These cabins are similar to the one that William Conner lived in with his first wife, Macunchis, a Lenape woman and the daughter of the chief, with their 6 children between 1802 and 1821. Macunchis and their 6 children, John, James, Harry, Elizabeth, William, and Nancy, along with the rest of their tribe, left Indiana in 1821 under the law of the Treaty of St. Mary's, which William Conner helped draft and sign. Built in 1823 after William Conner married his second wife, Elizabeth Chapman. This was one of the first 2-story brick houses in central Indiana. It displays qualities of the federal style of architecture, featuring a square second floor, understated external decoration, and green shutters. Another interesting architectural feature of the Conner house are the metal beams that have been inserted through the floor joists between the first and the second floor. These help to hold the whole structure of the house together and can be identified by large iron S's on the front facade of the house. After the Conners moved to Noblesville in 1837, the house fell to disarray over the years. The house became dilapidated and needed extensive repairs, which occurred when Eli Lilly purchased the property in 1934.
It had insufficient foundations. The walls on the west side were bulged out about 6 inches. All of the brickwork needed repointing. The roof leaked badly and the east porch had disappeared. The kitchen wing had been struck by lightning. Its floor beams were rotten and the brickwork was cracked. It had to be entirely torn down and rebuilt, using for the most part the original materials.
Lilly replaced the unstable bricks on the house, repaired swollen floorboards and walls, and added a lavish front porch. Thanks to the generous philanthropic support of the community, the Conner house underwent renovations in the mid-1990s and in 2016, which resulted in the removal of the lavish front porch and an increased focus of the Lenape side of William Conner's story through exhibits and interpretation. The Conner House is one of 2 historic buildings on its original foundation on Conner Prairie property. This barn was donated by the Stuntz family of Delphi, Indiana, and once stood in Rossville. The barn was built in 1840 and is a good example of a threshing barn. In a threshing barn, the grain would have been laid out on the floor, which allowed the animals to walk on it, separating the grain from the chaff. With both barn doors open, this created a breezeway that allowed the lightweight chaff to be blown away. A distinctive feature of this barn is the huge hay-mow beam at the top of the barn. It weighs approximately 1 ton and is from a single piece of black walnut. This house is a good example of Greek Revival architecture. This style of architecture was more popular in more populated parts of the country earlier in the 19th century. Then the trend slowly moved west and became widely used from around 1825 to 1860. The transom and the side lights around the front door are common traits of Greek Revival architecture. During the early spring of 2020, the house was given a new roof and fence thanks to the generosity of our Conner Prairie donors. This house originally belonged to an actual doctor named Dr. A.G. Ruddle, who practiced medicine in the 1830s and 1840s. The home stood at the corner of 465 and Allisonville Road. We recently discovered that William Conner was a patient of Dr. Ruddle in that very house. The Curtis House was built sometime in 1830 and was originally home of the Berger family near Louisville, Indiana, on the National Road. The home was large for the time period, with a large kitchen, a living room, and a second floor for sleeping. Family histories suggest that this home was used as a stop for travelers moving west on the National Road. Even though the Berger family had 10 children of their own, they still made room and opened up their home for those in need of a place to rest. Not much is known about the history of the Golden Eagle Inn, but it's believed that it was constructed sometime in the 1830s. The home was donated by the Doan family of Westfield in 1972 and has gone through many internal and external restorations, including the siding, plaster, and the floors. It is unclear if the building was on property when the Doans bought the land in Westfield in 1856. There are some recollections of the house being moved to the property from somewhere near Carmel, but no further information has been presented to verify this. One newer addition to the Golden Eagle is the cob oven that was built in 2016. A cob oven is an outdoor communal cooking space that would have been regularly used by 5 to 6 families. It is called a cob oven from the material that it's made from: sand, clay, and straw. The oven was built in June of 2016 with the help of interpreters and guests. The oven has been used frequently on the grounds for daily cooking as well as special events for donors. The covered bridge was built in 1884 and comes from Auburn, Indiana, in DeKalb County. This style of bridge is called a Howe Truss Bridge and is considered the stepping stone between all wood construction and all iron construction in bridges. Covered bridges help to protect the supporting trusses of the bridge from the elements. A wooden bridge that was left uncovered would last approximately 20 years, while a covered bridge would last closer to 100 years. At the turn of the century, constructing bridges out of iron became much easier and less expensive. Also, heavier traffic patterns created more two-way roads when most covered bridges were only one lane. So, this led to the slow decline of wooden covered bridges. The Mayfield and Nichols dry goods store in Civil War Journey is a great example of a building that we built on site using historic construction methods. Thanks to the generous gifts from donors, this building was built in 2001 and is an exact replica of the gravely run Quaker Meeting House near Crawfordsville that was originally built in 1880. Beginning in the 1860s, we start to see more Victorian style of architecture in this part of the country. We think that due to the Industrial Revolution, people were able to afford more decorative and lavish things in their homes, things that we may take for granted now, like doorknobs. The railroad also made it easier for people in central Indiana to get goods in a timely manner, which means that Indiana changed rapidly between the years of 1836 and 1863. The Porter House is really a Frankenstein's monster of a house. Parts of its exterior and interior, like the staircase, front door, window capitals, porch brackets, and some interior molding, are original to the historic Wheeler farmhouse in Noblesville. The rest of the house was constructed using historic methods. This style of barn is called a bank barn because it sits on an earthen embankment. The animal stalls are in the bottom level, while the upper level is used for storage. A bank barn needs to have a good, strong foundation because the constant shifting of the earth can cause a lot of pressure on the wooden support structures. This barn was likely built sometime in the 1840s and was owned by the Goshaw family, who originally settled in Noblesville near State Road 37 and Pleasant Street. The Goshaws were some of the first white settlers in this area and had connections to William Conner. We have another important piece of the Goshaw family history in our collection. We have the covered wagon that brought the family to this area. We even have a guest book that the descendants of the family can sign when they come to visit. It is through history we learn our greatest lessons, preparing us for the future. When we stand in these buildings, we are transported to a different time. We remember those who came before us, where we came from, and how our community was built. We hope this tour has inspired you to keep learning, and we hope you'll visit us soon to explore history even further.